Good afternoon. It's me, kbrblues. Got this many subscribers now, so you should all know who I am by this point. And if you don't, welcome to the channel. I'm a blues musician, at least an aspiring one, and just trying to work out how to make a living off of playing music. That's all this is about. So as I say, my niche is blues. And it's about time I toured, I think. I've done plenty of gigs with in a band situation, in a function situation, solo, metal bands. I've done all sorts of gigging, but this would be my very own first tour. And I booked, this would be the third attempt to tour now. First time was, well, both times were cancelled because of COVID. First time I had a nice tour booked for May. It had about 29 dates. It was going to be with my friend Ellie. And you know, it was going to be really good, and then COVID hit and the world shut down. And then the second time was in December and I got COVID on the first day of the tour, and I tested the next morning, so that's how it is. So this is now the third attempt, and this time I booked it all by myself. The first time I did, the second time we had a tour manager, and this third time I'm booking it myself. So I thought I'd talk through it and explain to you all how to book a tour, essentially, if you are unsigned. Even if you have limited gig experience, even if you haven't got music out, this is probably the greatest way to tour. And, well, there's probably better options. You could find a tour manager, you could get signed with a label and do a stadium tour supporting bands and whatever, but if you're like me, where you're doing something really niche and the aim is to get your name in people's faces and let them know who you are, this is probably the way to do it. But if you think of a different way, talk about it in the comments. Feel free to post it below. So let's begin. I've broken it down into different steps, but before getting into that, I just want to talk about your purpose for touring. And you got to have an aim, you got to have a goal. And for me, I want to get my name out in different towns now. I lived in St Albans for a while, and people know me around there. In some areas of North London, I've gigged around there, people know my name, people know who I am. I studied there as well. Now I live in Nottingham, and I haven't gigged much up here. With my other band I have, but I want to get my name out here in the northern part of the UK and the East Midlands as well. So that's the goal, really, to spread my name around and meet people and ultimately have a good time. I've always wanted to tour, seeing my friends do it, and now's my turn, I think. So we'll get into the first step. So you want to look at the map of the UK and work out what you're going to do. In my case, I had a gig already booked for August 6th at my hometown in St Albans. So I thought that was a good starting place. Now if you look on the map, it's here. And all you have to do is use your eyes and think about, what can I do? So you want to make a spreadsheet, and my one looks a bit like this. Now it's pretty populated, but essentially it started off looking like this, and it just had this on here, but it was still in the middle of the table, so I knew the dates around it, so I would put August 6th, and then you put the dates surrounding it, and then you would flip between this, and you would flip between the map, and then you'd go, okay, what other gigs have I got around then? And I knew I had this little festival coming up, Deerstock. So one's in Nottingham, one's in St Albans, or just north of London, so I'd look at the map and go, okay, there's Nottingham. What's between there, what's around there, what's realistic? So once I had the Horn and Nottingham booked, I looked at going this way a bit. So I've got friends in Leeds, that's where my band's based as well, so it made sense to find a Leeds gig, and luckily I already had a contact for a place called Northern Guitars, and then we agreed on the date, August 3rd. And then I looked at the map again, and I saw, oh, that's the wrong map. Where did that go? And then I looked at the map again, and so we got Leeds booked. Can I make my way over to Manchester? And it took a while to book this. This is the last gig I booked, but I knew I wanted it, and I was adamant I wanted to book Manchester. So I contacted a promoter there, and the next day we'll be going to Manchester, and that's finally been booked, which I'm very happy about. And so on. And then it's getting kind of closer to, if we look at Manchester, that's only 2 days away from the Horn date, so I made my way. So I knew Friday would have to be a gig somewhere between Manchester and St Albans, or those surrounding areas. So I picked Ye Olde Fighting Cocks to do a solo gig at. They're great friends of mine and they treat me really nicely, and we're good friends over there. So that's what we did. And you just keep going like that, really. I knew I wanted a London gig, so what I would do is I would, for example here, if I know I want a London gig, I'm going to type in London, and of course not that, and I would make it red. So when I look at this, not that kind of red, let's go really red. When I look at this, I know that I need to get on that. Every day when I look at this tour schedule, I look at it and go, okay, I must book London. I must find a place to book it. And when I've emailed somewhere or found a place I'm set on booking, I'd make it orange. So I know I'm halfway to booking it, or at least in negotiation with a venue. And then once it's booked, and in which case it is, I would make it green. And Clapham, or the rest of it's down here, the bread and roses. So I know about that. So once you have everything booked, and there's no real limit, well, we'll talk about that in a sec, but I guess there is a limit. But once you think you're done, leave it. Don't keep adding gigs, because it gets to the point where you need to start making posters and stuff like that. So let's go over these steps again, just to recap. So you've looked at your map, you've found the towns you want to go to, and you've laid it all out. Once you have all the towns laid out, you're going to start finding the venues, contacting promoters in those towns and seeing what suits you. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to start calculating your prices. So the way I like to do that is, well, I'm going to look at the mileage first. So hopefully you're a driver and not taking the trains, because I think the trains might wind up more expensive in some cases. I mean, it depends if you've got rail card or what. But ultimately, you want to have a car. You want to be able to have the freedom to go where you need to go, throw all your gear in the car depending what you're doing, and so on. So if we look just here, not pay, sorry. If we look here for mileage from previous, and that should say destination. I don't know why all these are hidden. Mileage from previous destination, that would say. I know Gunthorpe Deerstock Fest is about 2 miles from where I live, so I'm going to put that in. And I know this day I'm helping to pack down the festival. And then I'm looking at Nottingham, Percy Picklebackers. That is about 5 miles from the house. However, I know I need to get back home, so I want to account for that fuel as well to actually get back home and sleep in Nottingham. So although it's 5 miles, I'm actually going to put 10 miles, and then I know that's how many miles I'm going to drive that day. That's probably a better title for this. Miles I drove that day, or will drive that day. And so on. And you want to go through, so I know to get from Nottingham to Leeds, as well as picking up Seb and Mia, who are my bass player and drummer, I know I'm going to use 75 miles, and so on. And this all adds up, and if you're good with Excel, you know you can put a sum in and just do that, and that's what I do, or you can do it manually. But the good thing with that is if you watch, this will update as you change it, so that's handy. And so on. So once you know how many miles you're going to drive, you can get the specifications of your car, and in my case I know it's 43.7 miles to the gallon, and this is the this would be the average fuel price, I believe, or I can't remember how I worked that out. But either way, I took my miles per gallon, and I took the amount of fuel it can hold. And then I worked out the average fuel price. I mean, the fuel price is climbing and will always be changing, but just so I can get a rough estimation. But I know I'm doing 542 miles. Sorry, 587 miles. And my car could do 542 miles on a full tank. So I need a bit more than a full tank, and to fill up my car, sadly, at the moment, it's about probably going to cost me around £70. So I know I'm going to do about £80 in fuel. However, with all the extra driving you're going to do, you want to put another 50% on there, because you know you're going to be going to places, you're going to be going to your friend's house to stay over there, you're going to be sleeping somewhere, so this is an important factor to work out, and so on. And so you know where you're playing, hopefully they're all booked, or at least you know what town you're going to, you know how many miles you're going to be driving. and then this all adds up. And so at the moment this tour is going to cost me, let's say, £120. Ah, there we go. Sorry, yeah. So as I said, add 50%. So here, fuel cost approximate £125. So that's why leftover expenses are minus 125. So I didn't want to show you the actual payments because I don't think that'd be respectful to anyone if I just told you how much money I'm going to earn. And I'm not a millionaire, I can tell you that, so don't ask. But let's say you're trying to get £100 per gig. And let's just input that so we can see how that begins to look on here. Some gigs, which I'll show you. As a matter of fact, yeah, some gigs will pay less because they're free entry and bar gigs. So I'm just putting in random numbers here. So some gigs will be ticketed, like the horn. So that could work out great, or it could work out to be an expense. But in this case, luckily the horn is next to where my dad lives, which was where I'll be staying. And it's also next to the Fighting Cocks, and I'm only in London the next day. So it's not like I'm traveling from one end of the country to the other just to do that gig. So I am already mentally prepared to take a loss on that. Yes, so once we've done that, this is ticketed as well. Ticket links will be in the description if you want to come along. It's currently June, I'll be uploading this later today. Botsford, so these are just random numbers, guys, don't take it to heart. And then promoters, if you're watching this, I'm just putting in random numbers, so don't freak out. So it adds up to £625 in this made up tour, right? So I've inputted it where, so leftover, so this deducts the fuel cost. We're left over with £500. Now, in my case, some gigs are solo, and other gigs I've got a band with me. In fact, nearly half of them are with the band. So, I mean, I want to divide that by 3. I want to split it equally between my bass player and drummer and pay them a fair amount. So, in this case, I'm going to look at this, and sadly, my skills do not go beyond being able to take specifically band gigs and adding them up. There probably is a way, but it'll be tedious, and on the other one. But let's say that's 100 to 225 to 55. 305, 355. Let's make my life easier and round it up to 160. And I tell you what, we'll do that as well, so these numbers still make sense. So now I know 360 pounds worth of gig is with the band, and that needs to be split 3 ways. So 2/3 of that I know I'm losing already. So 2/3 of 360 is 240. Oh. And there we go. So I know £120 is going to sever me at each because I've got to pay my band. So now I know this is left over, this number here, and that's how much I'll be making on this, just based on these made up numbers, right? So that's that. So now I know how much money I'm going to make. I know hopefully my car doesn't break down or anything like that. So I know over these 2 weeks I'm going to make £265, which is wonderful. But we got to think about other income streams, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So the next step, I would say, once you've done your price calculations and negotiated prices with the venue, of course, and this will ultimately be down to them. And I say, don't take the piss out of them, but aim high and accept lower. If you contact a venue and say we'll play for £30 because you're so sure that you're not worth it or anything, and you know it's okay to we all get insecure. What I would say is aim high. So if you think your band's worth £100, aim high and say, yes, we'd like £300. And if they say, sorry, we can only do £200, then you've still made £100 more than you've expected. So aim high and come down to what their limit would be. And then everyone's happy. Okay, if you aim too low, then you're taking the piss out of yourself. If you aim way too high and ask for £1,000, people are just going to say, no, sorry. So be realistic as well. So the next step to me would be getting promotion going before anything else. And I know it's exciting to, you know, work out what strings and guitars you're going to bring and all that, but promotion is important, because if you don't bring people to these venues, the venues will never have you back again, and we don't want that. So you want to show these venues you care as well, and a way to do that is this. So I use Canva. It's a free service. Well, you can pay for Canva Pro, but this is equally great, I think, and you can work around things. And take photos that are unique to the tour, so it looks fresh to your audience. When you upload them to Instagram, people will have never seen those photos before, and they go, oh yeah, something different, rather than just recycling old stuff. So what I did was, let's see, how can I open this? What I did was this. We would set up a table and chairs in the garden, kind of inspired by the Jimi Hendrix garden picture, and we poured some juice, made a coffee, made some breakfast, and you can't even see that. You can barely see it, but it's a little detail, such as the candles and stuff. I'm in my pajamas. I thought I'd just do something completely crazy for it. But I got the resonator there and the cowboy hat, just to show my audience that, you know, without writing blues gig, people can tell what the vibe is already. So they know they're not going to a disco gig or I don't know, an indie show. They know they're either going to see country blues or some amalgamation of both. And KBR Blues is on the poster and all that, so as I say, this is going to be unique to you, and what I'm doing is niche. What you're doing is probably going to be niche as well. If it's worth touring, it should be niche, it should be different, it should be new. So, do something fun. Have fun with it. That's the main point of this. You don't want this to, like, break your bank account and ruin your life. So, you know, it's quite simple. Kbrblues, for example, this one, the Berlin, free entry show, and I got the date on there. And I use this as a template, and I'd simply download this image, and then for the next one I'd go ye old fighting cocks or whatever, and I think I'm going to get banned on YouTube for saying fighting cocks, but it's a historical thing. Cool, my laptop is overheating. Cool, so after that, what can we call the next step then? Once you've done your individual posters, send them out to your venues, ask them very nicely to print them and put one in the window, so, you know, people actually turn up. And then make one to put on Instagram and or Facebook or anything like that. Do a tour poster that shows everything. Maybe you want these made into leaflets that you can go and hang out. Maybe you want these made into leaflets you can go and hand out. So in this case, we have Kbrblues and the Swamp. And then, as I say, with this one I've done with the Swamp Dogs, and I put this little logo here, and I copy and pasted it onto here to show which gigs are band gigs versus solo gigs. And I've also specified in text which one's a solo gig, which one's a gig in a solo gig and a band gig in the caption of when I posted this. So, I've got all my dates here and all that, and you can just post that and it looks really nice, I think. I'm happy with it, very happy with it. Katie helped me out with it. Cool. So, what I was talking about earlier, if we go back to our spreadsheet, is CD sales. So for me, I've got CDs made, and I want to be able to account and work out how many CDs are being sold. And you could just go in and say, yeah, I'll take a $5, I'll take a $10, but for me, I'm going to be strict and say I'd like £10 per CD or any donation above that. And I want to know how many CDs I sold, one, so I can keep track of my stock, and also I want to know how well they're doing, how well they're selling, if it's worth bringing them again, if I need to make t-shirts or drink coasters or bikinis, Kbrblues bikinis instead, or something else. You just want to be able to track these analytics and see if it's worth your time, worth the energy selling this type of stuff. I don't think I have much else to say on this spreadsheet, so the next step really will be another video that I'll make another time, which will be regarding packing the car, preparing for that, and that's going to be a bit more of a fun vlog, but I thought I'd share my experience with booking a tour and how I've gone about it, and it might help someone else. So I hope you enjoyed, I hope you got something out of this, and I hope I didn't miss any points, and if I have, I'll address them in the next video. But if you have any questions, I can do a follow-up, and I think that might help some people, so let me know. Thanks for watching.